Welcome back, dear listeners, to another spine-chilling episode of Half Haunted, where we uncover the haunted and the unexplained and the downright terrifying. I'm your host, Candi, and I'm always with my lovely co-host, Raji.
Hello, Candi.
Tonight, we step away from folklore and urban legends to focus on real places, landmarks, hotels, and cemeteries where the past refuses to be buried. From an iron furnace where revenge was set ablaze to a ghostly hospital where patients never left, these are the places history has left behind, but something still lingers. So sit back, turn down the lights, and remember, sometimes places hold memories of their own. For Alabama, it's the Sloss Furnaces. In Birmingham, Alabama, there stands a relic of the past, Sloss Furnaces, a National Historic Landmark that once produced pig iron from 1882 to 1972. Today it's a tourist attraction, but some visitors leave with more than just photos. Workers whisper of shadowy figures moving between rusted machinery, voices of echoing from long abandoned furnaces, and a vengeful spirit that refuses to rest. His name? James Wormwood, a ruthless blast foreman. Wormwood was infamous for his cruelty. He punished workers from past their limits, treating them as expendable as the iron they melted. But one faithful night, graveyard shift had enough. The story goes that angry workers revolted, empowering Wormwood and throwing him into the molten fires of the furnace. How? Now? He roams the factory grounds, a shadow among the rusted remains of his empire. Visitors report seeing a dark figure standing near a furnace, disappearing into the heat, but never leaving completely. Would you dare to visit?
During the day?
That's quick. Right, during the day.
Deep into the Alaskan wilderness, there's a place so haunted, even developers won't go near it. Welcome to Kennecott Copper Mining Camp, a once thriving mining town that was since become one of the most feared places in the state. The abandoned buildings stand as hollow reminders of a long time gone. But those who enter, they never feel alone. In the 1990s, developers attempted to build homes along one of the old railroad lines. They didn't get far. One by one, construction workers quit, refusing to return. They reported screams, constant bone-chilling wails echoing through the valley. Tools would vanish, sometimes right up their tool belt. Some claim the spirits belong to the miners who perished underground, their bodies left to rot beneath the frozen earth. Others whisper that something far older inhabits the land, which I would not be surprised. Something that does not welcome outsiders. The development project abandoned. The spirits still waiting. Would you be brave enough to explore Alaska's most haunted town?
Nope.
I'll leave it alone. Leave it alone.
So, in Arizona, not all ghosts are found in graveyards. Did you know that, Raji?
I did not.
Some linger in places meant to heal the living, but instead become a haven for the dead. Perched above the ghost town of Jerome, Arizona, the Jerome Grand Hotel has a past that refuses to be forgotten. Before it became a hotel, it was a hospital, a place where countless patients took their final breath, and some, they never left. Guests report hearing crying, coughing, and whispers in the hallways, as if the echoes of the past are still playing on repeat. One apparition in particular stands out, a former employee named Harvey, who met an untimely and mysterious end in 1935. His spirit is often seen in the basement stairwell, watching and waiting, but never speaking. But if you truly want to test your courage, request 32, the site of 2 confirmed deaths. Or take the elevator to the third floor, where guests have reported encounters with the bearded man who walks the halls only to vanish in thin air. A place of healing, or a prison for souls who never found peace?
I don't know. But did you know graveyards hold stories? Some remembered, some left undisturbed. In Little Rock, Arkansas, Mount Holly Cemetery is a resting place for United States senators, state governors, and historical figures. But it's also home to something else. Something that refuses to rest. Visitors who walk the grounds at dawn report hearing the sounds of a flute playing. Okay, but when they look, there is no one there. After dark, some claim to have seen the ghostly figures of Native Americans and Confederate soldiers wandering the cemetery. But the most unsettling phenomenon? The statues on some of the graves move.
Hell no. I have never seen a statue move in a graveyard. Thank God.
For those who watch Doctor Who, they tell you don't blink. We'll just leave it at that because that's like one of my ones that I'm like, oof, it's crazy. It's crazy. All right. People have returned to find trinkets mysteriously placed on the tombstones as if the spirits themselves had left a message. Are these just stories, or is Mount Holly Cemetery still active even after death? Would you dare to walk around? Would you dare to walk among the restless?
I usually do once a week in the cemeteries, but this one, statues move. That's a no for me. So, in San Jose, California, there stands a mansion unlike any other, a labyrinth of confusion built not for the living, but for the dead. The Winchester Mystery House was once the home of Sarah Winchester, a widow of a firearm tycoon, William Wirt Winchester. After the sudden deaths of her husband and infant daughter, Sarah was convinced that the spirits of those killed by Winchester rifles were haunting her. A psychic told her that the only way to appease the restless spirits was to never stop building, to construct a house so complex, so bewildering that the ghosts could never find her. And so, for 38 years, the house grew, with staircases that led to nowhere, doors open onto brick walls, and countless secret passages. Today, visitors report paranormal encounters throughout the house. A ghostly man pushing a wheelbarrow, endlessly working as if construction never ceased. Apparitions speaking out of windows, watching those who dare to enter. Sudden chills and the unmistakable sensation of an unseen hand pulling on their arm. The Winchester Mystery House now hosts tours, including a Halloween haunt, immersing visitors in its eerie history. But beware, some guests check in and leave with more than just a story. Would you dare to explore the endless hallways knowing something may be following you, Raji? I heard that house is wild.
When the sun's out, yeah. That's right. They always turn the day when the sun is out. The Titanic might have sunk, but its most famous survivor spirit remains very much afloat. The Molly Brown House Museum in Denver, Colorado, was once home to J.J. and Molly Brown, a socialite couple known for their wealth and influence, and in Molly's case, an uncanny ability to cheat death. Molly famously survived the sinking of the Titanic, earning her the nickname the unsinkable Molly Brown. Oh! But while she escaped the icy depths of the Atlantic, she never truly left her home. Visitors to the museum report strange occurrences: the smell of roses or tobacco smoke lingering in empty rooms, piano keys moving but making no sound, dark shadows darting through the halls when no one else is there, doors shutting on their own as if someone or something doesn't want them open. And then there's Molly herself. Guests claim to have seen her standing in her bedroom watching over her home. Some have even caught glimpses of her husband and mother, as if the entire family has returned, bound to the place they left. Whether Molly is truly unsinkable or simply refuses to say goodbye, one thing is clear: this house is not empty.
There's a Molly Brown house in Hannibal, too.
Really?
I don't know if I think she's born, I don't know, but there's a Molly Brown house in Hannibal. Anyway, so some places are haunted by ghosts. Others are haunted by something much worse. Dudleytown, Connecticut is one of those places. Once a small, thriving settlement, Dudleytown became a place of horror and misfortune, with a history so dark and cursed that no one dares to live there today. The legend tells of the Dudley family who fled England to escape a deadly curse placed upon them. But the curse, it followed them. From the moment the family settled in Dudleytown, misfortune struck. Murders, unexplained deaths, and failed businesses. No matter what they built, Dudleytown refused to prosper. Over time, people vanished, and those who remained suffered mental breakdowns, mysterious illnesses, and violent outbursts. Eventually, the entire town was abandoned, and today the land is privately owned, and visitors are strictly forbidden. But for those who ignore the warnings, they report overwhelming dread, strange figures moving in the trees, and a sense that something is unseen is watching them. Some say the curse of Dudleytown still lingers, waiting for its next victim. So if you ever find yourself near the Forbidden Forest of Connecticut, remember this: some places are abandoned for a reason, and some should never be found. This would be one of those places.
Yeah. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Nope. You got that right. So off the coast of Delaware City, a prison of stone and suffering rises from the water. Fort Delaware, built in 1859. During the Civil War, the fort became a prison camp for Confederate soldiers, a place of starvation, sickness, and death. Nearly 3,000 men perished inside its cold walls. And today, many say they will walk the grounds. Visitors report seeing ghostly soldiers marching along the battlements, their eyes hollow and searching. A woman in the kitchen, clad in old-fashioned dress, appears for brief moments before vanishing into thin air. The most unsettling stories come from those who have joined the fort's paranormal tour. People have heard footsteps echo behind them, only to turn and find nothing there. Others report whispers in the darkness, pleas for help, words spoken in language long lost to time. Some claim to have been touched, even shoved by unseen hands. A prison built to hold the living, now overrun by the dead. Would you dare to step inside?
So we're headed south to the crazy state of Florida. A beautiful Victorian home sits atop a hill in Brooksville, Florida. But behind its elegant facade lies one of the most haunted places in the state. May Stringer House, built in 1855, is now a museum, but some believe it is still a home to the ghosts who once lived there. John and Marie Marina, Yeah. May built the house, but tragedy struck 3 years later when John died of tuberculosis. Marina remarried, but soon after she died giving birth to their daughter Jessie. Jessie didn't make it past 3 years old, and now they all remain. Our museum staff reports seeing shadowy figures moving through the halls, their forms flickering in the candlelight, objects moving on their own, especially a small doll, one of the few things Jessie left behind, but the most unsettling reports come from those who hear her. Soft giggles floating through the air, the faint cries of a child calling for her mother, footsteps pattering around through empty rooms. Is Jessie simply looking for someone to play with? Or is she waiting for a mother who never returned? Would you visit Florida's most haunted house, knowing that you may not be alone? No. You had me at no, and it's because the doll. No.
Okay, I'm trying to
Child giggling.
how all these ghosts getting along because homeboy died. She got remarried. Where's his ass at?
Imagine that. That's crazy. Wow.
Some cemeteries are peaceful resting places. Others, I don't know. They are filled with restless souls. In Savannah, Georgia, one of the most hauntingly beautiful cemeteries in the world, holds a sorrowful secret. Bonaventure Cemetery, stretching across 160 acres, is home to the spirit of a little girl lost in time. Her name was Gracie Watkins, born in the late 1800s. Gracie was the daughter of a prominent hotel owner. She was beloved by guests and staff alike, a child full of laughter and life. But at just 6 years old, she died of pneumonia. Her parents' world shattered in an instant. They commissioned a stunning statue of her, eerily lifelike carving that now stands to watch over her grave, and sometimes she watches back. Is this the one that you see on TV a lot?
I think so, yeah.
I think I've seen this one. Visitors who walk the cemetery at dusk report seeing a little girl standing by the statue, her dress fluttering in the wind, only to vanish the moments they blink.
Don't blink.
Right? Don't blink. Others hear her quiet sobs drifting through the air, an eternal grief that never fades. People leave toys at her grave, hoping to bring her comfort in the afterlife. Some say if you listen closely as you walk away, you hear a small ghostly voice whisper, "Thank you." Would you offer a gift to a child who never left, or would you fear that she might follow you home? Look, if I'm going to gift a child something like that, it's going to be some organic origami paper, because I am not littering. When it rains, it just dissipates, goes back into the earth. And, she could probably use it in the ghostly world. She can actually fold things. So, hey, that's my idea.
Yeah, there you go.
Forgive me for those who can pronounce these things better than I, but I will do my best. Hawaii is a land of beauty, power, and bloodshed. One of the most historic and haunted locations is the Nu'uanu Pali Lookout, a breathtaking cliff with a dark past. In 1790, during a brutal battle over the control of Hawaiian Islands, King Kamehameha I waged war against Maui chief Kalani'upule. The battle was fierce, but Kamehameha's warriors gained the upper hand. They drove their enemies off a cliff, More than 400 men fell to their deaths, their screams swallowed by the wind, their bodies lost in the rocks below, and today their voices still rise from the depths. Visitors report hearing screams and moans from the cliff's edge, as if the warriors are reliving their final moments. Some say they've even seen phantom figures standing at the precipice staring down into the abyss. And the most chilling warning? Locals say that if you bring pork with you to the road of the Pali Lookout, your car will stall. Why? Because it believes that Pele, the goddess of fire, and Kumapua'as, the pig god, had a bitter feud, and her spirit will not allow pork to cross her path. So if you ever visit this place of battle, betrayal, and bloodshed, remember, the spirits of the fallen still wait below, and if you hear them call your name, do not answer.
I am not answering shit, and I am not bringing no pork. I'm just going to go visit, and I'm out. Respect the land.
Right. I might read. Okay. Some prisons hold more than just criminals. No way. No. Really?
Who knew?
I'm learning something new today. They hold anger, sorrow, and something else, something that never left. The old Idaho State Penitentiary in Boise was one of the most violent prisons in American history. For over a century, more than 13,000 prisoners passed through its cold stone walls, and some never left. Those who dare to take a self-guided tour report strange and chilling encounters, unexplained voices whispering in empty cells, cold touches on their arms as if unseen hands reach out from the darkness. But most haunted spot in the prison, House 5. This was the final home of Ray Snowden, one of Idaho's most notorious murderers who spent years awaiting his execution. Some say they've heard his last words whispered in the wind, felt his presence in the darkness, and even seen his shadow moving along the prison walls. Is it guilt that keeps these spirits locked inside? Or is it something far darker still in control of this place? If you step inside, remember this, you may be free to leave, but not everybody is.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. So, did you know cemeteries are meant to be a place of rest?
No.
Yeah, no. Oh, I thought they were for the living. Yeah.
I thought it was party grounds because I know there's a lot of Hennessy in these places. And beer.
Yep. So in Midlothian, Illinois, Chicago, Butchers Grove Cemetery is anything but peaceful. Once the final resting place of just 82 souls, the cemetery was abandoned and desecrated, and its headstones stolen, its graves vandalized, and now the spirits roam freely. In 1970s, visitors first reported seeing strange lights flickering through the graveyard, orbs floating in the darkness, moving as if someone's watching them. Then came the phantoms, a black dog, its eyes glowing red just before tragedy strikes. Figures in monk robes walking between the trees, their faces hidden beneath their hoods. A ghostly farmhouse appearing, shrinking, and vanishing before visitors' eyes. And then there are the phantom vehicles, cars that race down the cemetery roads with their headlights burning bright, only to disappear into thin air. Is this a graveyard for forgotten souls, or is this something much more sinister taking hold? If you visit, be careful where you step. You may not be the only one walking among the graves. It's a creepy place, so this is where the mob would dump bodies and stuff, supposedly.
The Hannah House in Indianapolis, Indiana, was meant to be a place of freedom and salvation, a stop on the Underground Railroad. It offers safety to enslaved people seeking escape. But one night, it became a place of horror. A gas lamp tipped over, igniting a massive fire in the basement where men, women, and children were hiding. Trapped, they had no way out, and in order to protect his home and the secret of the railroad, Mr. Hannah buried their remains in the basement. Now their spirits have never found peace. Visitors report moans and whispers echoing through the halls, shadows shifting along the basement walls. Sorry. I'm like, old spots that move like unseen figures, but the sorrow doesn't end there. Mrs. Hannah gave birth to a stillborn baby, and now the sound of infant cries fills the house at night. Some say the spirits are searching for justice. Others, they simply want to be remembered. Would you dare to step inside knowing the house still holds the echoes of the past? That's awful.
Yeah, that is. It's crazy that they had to bury him to hide the railroad. So we're going to head over to Villisca, Iowa. There stands a house so haunted, it may be one of the most terrifying in America. 1912, a family of 8 the Moore family and 2 guests were brutally murdered in their sleep. The weapon? An axe. The killer? Never found. The spirits? Still here. The Valeska Axe Murder House is open for tours during the day, but if you're truly brave, you can stay overnight. No thank you. Visitors report children's voices giggling in empty rooms, doors creaking open and slamming shut, footsteps in the halls, even when the house is empty. And the most terrifying, the sound of an axe scraping against the floor.
Oof.
Yeah. Some investigators claim to have spoken to the spirits through EVP recordings, capturing whispers from beyond the grave. But one warning remains. The house does not like visitors. Many guests report feeling nauseous, lightheaded, or overwhelmed with dread. Some even fled in the middle of the night, unable to stay any longer. Is it the Moore family trying to tell their story, or something else, something more dark, far darker, that never left? Would you dare to sleep in the house where the unspeakable evil still lingers?
Well, there's another place I don't feel like going to. It's the gateway of hell. I guess Kansas. Some cemeteries are full of ghosts. They are said to be gates to hell itself. In Stoll, Kansas, a deserted church stands beside one of the most feared cemeteries in the country. For over a century, whispers have spread of a dark presence lingering in the graveyard. Many believe Satan himself walks among the tombstones, appearing twice a year. Visitors tell terrifying tales, an unseen force grabbing their arms, pulling them towards something they can't see. The sudden feeling of dizziness and memory loss, leaving them unable to recall what happened inside the cemetery. Phantom hands pushing them to the ground as if wanting them to leave. Some believe the ruins of the church hide something evil. Others say those who step inside will never be the same again. Would you walk through the gates of hell just to see if the story is true, or would you turn away before the devil himself reaches out to welcome you in? Look, during the daytime, when the sun is out and I got a bad attitude, I might step in the church. Devil might try me. It ain't going to happen. Right. And then I'm going to the closest convenience store and get me a case of beer. And some
That's
beef
funny.
jerky.
Yeah. Hospitals are meant to heal, but some, they're places of suffering, horror, and death. In Louisville, Kentucky, the Waverly Hills Sanatorium was once a hospital for tuberculosis patients. Built in 1910, it was meant to provide care and hope. Instead, it became a house of death. Thousands died in agony, their bodies carried away through a secret tunnel so the living patients wouldn't see how many were lost each day. And worse, some never had a chance to survive at all. Doctors desperate for a cure performed gruesome experimental surgeries without anesthesia. Some patients had their lungs removed, others had balloons inserted into their chests in a desperate attempt to keep them breathing. Many never woke up from the table, and now they're still here. So visitors report shadowy figures stalking the halls, unexplained lights flickering in empty rooms, disembodied voices carrying out in pain. But the most terrifying experience is that of a little boy named Timmy who still waits for someone to play with him. Some have left balls for him to roll across the floor and watch in horror as the ball moves on its own. Would you walk through the empty corridors of Beverly Hills knowing you're not alone?
No.
Yeah.
This is fun. I mean, it's
Again,
not fun. Yeah, it's like, wow.
Well, it's the most haunted place in Louisiana, according to
Well, there you
the
go.
internet.
All right.
Yep.
Some ghosts linger because of tragedy, others because of unspeakable horror. In New Orleans, one home remains a monument to cruelty and death, the LaLaurie Mansion. To the public, Madame Delphine LaLaurie was a wealthy socialite admired by her peers, but behind the doors of her grand estate, she was a monster. In 1834, a fire broke out in her home. Firefighters rushed in to help, but what they found inside was worse than any flame. Slaves chained to walls, bodies locked in cages, victims with their own mouths sewn shut, men and women missing their eyes, their hands, their flesh. Madame LaLaurie fled to Paris before the mob could punish her, but the souls of her victims, they never left. To this day, the LaLaurie Mansion is filled with unexplained sounds, footsteps of those who will never be free, cold hands grabbing visitors as if pleading for help. The house is now a private residence, but some say the walls will still bleed with the pain of the past. Would you dare to stand outside the most haunted house in New Orleans knowing what was inside? Yes.
Yeah, it's really fancy, but I would not. I mean, I'm a ghost enthusiast, obviously, but that's something I don't. That's pure evil there. That is pure evil. But so during the Civil War, thousands of Confederate prisoners were sent to Point Lookout in Maryland. More than 8,000 men died, some from disease, others from starvation, and many from sheer despair. But today, visitors say the soldiers still walk the roads, their spirits refusing to leave. Campers report seeing men in Confederate uniforms wandering the woods only to disappear in the mist, hearing boots marching late at night, long after the park has emptied. Feeling an ice-cold hand pressed against their back in the darkness, some say Point Lookout is one of the most haunted places on the East Coast. And the worst part, the soldiers aren't alone. Many believe that a dark force lingers here, something beyond the spirits of war. A presence that feeds off of pain and loneliness and fear. Would you spend the night at Point Lookout knowing that the dead still stand watch? Or would you run before they make you one of their own? No. I'm running before they make me one of them. No, thank you.
For most, a trip to the movies is a simple pleasure, but at Strand Cinema in Skowhegan, Maine, the show never truly ends. In the 1970s, a woman lived in the apartment above the theater and died there. Her spirit never left. Over the years, patrons, employees, and visitors have reported her presence. Tools moving on their own, sometimes disappearing from workers' hands. No. Paint smeared on freshly painted walls as if she refused to let anyone change her home. Ghostly handprints appearing on the movie screen as if she's watching from the other side. But the most terrifying moment came in 1978 when construction workers attempted to renovate the theater. Their power tools turned on and shocked them, even though they weren't plugged in. A shadow figure appeared in the balcony. A ceiling tile ripped itself from the roof and crashed to the ground as if something or someone didn't want them there. So the next time you go to the Strand Cinema, take a seat and don't be surprised if the ghost in the balcony is watching too.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That freaks me out when stuff that's unplugged turns on. It's so weird. So, a 200-mile zone of strange phenomenon, the Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts, has been called one of the most paranormally active areas in the world. Not just the United States, the world. At the heart of this eerie region is Hockomock Swamp, a 16,500-acre wetland where reality seems to bend. Glowing orbs floating above the trees, Bigfoot-like creatures stalking the swamps, cults practicing dark rituals in the woods, and perhaps a little sinister, the swamp has been used for a dumping ground for murder victims. The Wampanoag tribe called this place the place where spirits dwell, and perhaps they were right. Visitors have reported feeling watched, something unseen lurking just beyond the trees. Some say time moves differently here, others claim they've entered the swamp and come out in places they don't remember walking into. Is the Bridgewater a triangle hotspot of supernatural energy, or is there something older, something darker lurking beneath the waters?
Yeah, no.
That's a no for me. I'm not going to go in a place and come out some other place that I didn't even go to.
No.
When you mess with time and when you get disoriented, no.
I agree. For over 100 years, Traverse City State Hospital in Michigan was meant to be a place of healing. Instead, it became a place of horror. Built in 1885, the hospital saw countless patients suffering from mental illness, tuberculosis, and conditions they didn't understand. But what happened behind its walls? Torture, isolation, madness. Those were stories of forced commitments, of inhumane treatments, and of patients who never left, not because they were healed, but because they died there. Even though the hospital was closed for years, the spirits remain. Visitors report screams echoing down empty hallways, disembodied voices whispering names, lights turning on and off, even though there's no power. But the most chilling legend, some say if you stand in the tunnels beneath the hospital, you can hear the sound of bare feet running past you, and sometimes you feel something brush against your arm. Would you dare walk these halls knowing that some patients never checked out? Or would you turn and run before they invite you to stay?
Yeah, no thanks to the tunnel. So from there, going to Minnesota, some love stories end in happily ever after. Others end in tragedy and hauntings. In St. Paul, Minnesota, a grand Victorian home once belonged to a wealthy wholesaler, Joseph Fortlaw, and his family. But hidden beneath the elegance was a scandal, an affair between Joseph and the young maid, Molly. When their secret was exposed, Joseph took his own life, a gunshot to the head. A heartbroken Molly followed soon after, hanging herself in the home. But death didn't part them. The house, now for Fallen Restaurant, is still very much haunted. Molly pounding the walls, letting her rage be known. Glass is shattering for no reason. Cold presence standing behind guests whispering when there is no one there. The strangest part, Molly loves weddings. One couple who had their reception in the restaurant reported something terrifying. In their wedding photos, Molly's ghostly figure appeared in the background, smiling. Is she watching over the guests or still waiting for Joseph to return? If you ever dine at Fort Cause, raise your glass.
A night at the opera should be filled with music, beauty, and applause. But at the Grand Opera House in Meridian, Mississippi, guests can often experience something else entirely. A tap on the shoulder, a whisper in the empty seats, a cold spot just behind them. For over a century, this grand theater has been a staple of local art. But no one knows who haunts its halls. Some say it's a former performer still longing for the spotlight. Others whisper about a devoted patron who refuses to leave their favorite seat. Unlike many haunted places, these spirits are not malevolent. Instead, they seem curious and playful, almost welcoming. But still, when you feel a tap on your shoulder, would you dare turn around?
Oh, that's weird. The Elms Hotel and Spa in Alexa Springs, Missouri, has seen its fair share of history. It burned down twice, only to rise again, more elegant than before.
Wow.
But it's not just guests who check in. Some never check out. During Prohibition, this hotel was home to illegal gamblers, drinkers, and criminals. And now, their ghosts are said to roam the hallways, linger at the speakeasy, and ghost of a gambler forever waiting for his next bet. Strange noises from empty hallways and cold hands touching guests in their sleep. If you're brave enough, Elms offers a paranormal tour, but remember, once you step into the past might not let you leave.
Some battles end in history books. Others, they never truly end. On June 25, 1876, the Battle of Little Bighorn saw hundreds of U.S. soldiers and Native American warriors die on the plains of Montana. Today, their spirits remain. Visitors to Little Bighorn battlefield have reported apparitions of soldiers and warriors still locked in battle. Echoes of gunfire and war cries, even when the land is silent. The stone house where the cemetery caretaker once lived, still turning its lights on and off by itself. Some say the spirits are protecting the land. Others believe they're still fighting, unable to rest. If you ever visit the land, stand still and listen, because on some nights, the battle never stops. That's why.
That's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So, poor farms were meant to help those in need. But in Lincoln County, Nebraska, one farm became a place of pain, cruelty, and death. At Annie Cook's poor farm, the impoverished were given housing in exchange for labor, but they were worked to death, sometimes quite literally. And Annie Cook, she didn't care. She ran a prostitution ring and a bootlegging operation, ensuring her power was absolute. If a worker fell ill or got too weak, they suffered a terrible accident, one that ensured they would never be able to speak again. Annie Cook got away with it all, either through threats or smooth talking. But in 1952, she died, and her victims were waiting for her. Today, visitors report objects moving on their own, as if touched by unseen hands, hearing whispers in the dark, murmuring warnings. The ghostly presence of Annie herself, still lurking, still in control. A new farmhouse now stands where her empire of cruelty once stood, but its residents know the truth. Something from the past still lingers. Would you dare to spend the night there? Knowing what the land knows? Sounds like she's nuts. She was just after the money and didn't care.
Nuts and racist, hey.
Yeah.
But wait, the stage
is set.
The audience waits. But at Piper's Opera House in Virginia City, Nevada, not all of them are living. Since 1885, this opera house has stood as a cultural icon, a stage for most elegant performances. But after it was condemned in 1920, it stood silent, waiting. The silence was broken when the renovations began in 2003, and with them, the spirits returned. Visitors reported the apparition of a man with a handlebar mustache. His presence felt in the theater's upper levels. A mysterious lady in a blue dress seen floating through the balconies. Ghostly singing heard when the stage is empty. Cold spots, a whisper of the past reaching out. Today, Piper's Opera House hosts performances once again, but if you visit, you might get more than just a show.
Hey, did you know that some cemeteries are peaceful? But Pine Hill Cemetery in New Hampshire is not one of them.
Oh.
Who knew? Who knew? Known to locals as Blood Cemetery, this graveyard is named after the Blood family buried there, but their story is shrouded in mystery. Some say the Bloods were murdered, the rest of spirits trapped in the cemetery forever. And then there's Abel Blood's tombstone. By day, the engraving shows a hand pointed toward the heavens, but at night, the hand shifts downward, a chilling omen seen by countless visitors. Others have reported strange orbs of light hovering between the tombstones, tapping sounds as if someone's trying to get their attention, unexplained cold chills, and even in the heat of the summer. If you visit, be careful where you walk, because some spirits don't like to be disturbed.
Well, excuse me.
Yeah.
Hidden in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, Batstow Village is more than just a ghost town. It is a place of legends, of whispers, of things unseen. Once a thriving community dating back to 1766, the village is now abandoned. But something else remains. Many believe that the Jersey Devil itself roams these woods. Visitors have reported odd footprints unlike any animal they've ever seen. High-pitched, unearthly screams echoing through the trees, a shadowy figure darting across roads too fast to be human. Some have seen a creature, tall with wings and glowing red eyes. Others have felt watched as if something is lurking just beyond the trees. A legend, a warning, or something real. If you dare to explore Batstow Village, be sure to leave before nightfall, because when the sun sets, the Jersey Devil awakes. Like I said, during the day when the sun is out.
Reminds me of the story in Arizona. Remember where you said you saw that? Was it you and your sister or somebody? You saw that big dark fatty thing.
I couldn't tell you what road it's on. I don't know if we were driving around down McDowell Road, but we were going east. God, that was like 30 years ago. It was huge.
Maybe it could have been this thing. I don't know.
It was.
Isn't that wild?
Go home. All right.
So to my home state of New Mexico,
Yeah.
Taos Pueblo has stood for over 1,000 years. It is a sacred place, a rich community in history and legend, but some spirits never left. In the early 1800s, legendary frontiersman Kit Carson moved here. Today, his home is a museum, but it's not just artifacts that remain. Some visitors report seeing Kit Carson himself wandering the rooms as if he's checking on his home. Then there's Alley Cantina, another haunted location nearby. At this historic bar, patrons have felt a spirit wrapping itself around them in the bathroom. Candles lighting on their own. Objects moving randomly with no explanation. Are these friendly spirits or something else? If you ever visit Taos Pueblo, remember, the past is still very much alive. I don't know about the bathroom hugging you, but I'm trying to take a crap. Oh, it'll be all right.
Yeah, I don't need help squeezing. I'm good. So now we go to my birth state, New York. The New York State Capitol is a place of politics, power, and ghosts. Many spirits have been reported in its grand halls, but the most chilling legend is tied to Abraham Lincoln. After his assassination, Lincoln's body lay in state there. Oh, I did not know that. Sorry, I was a little shocked. While his spirit has never been seen, the train that carried his body, that was a different story. Every year on the anniversary of Lincoln's death, a ghostly train is said to appear traveling along its former route. But that's not the only haunting in this Capitol building. Other spirits include a watchman who perished in a fire in 1911, his keys still jingle in the halls even though no one is there. A man who committed suicide in 1890, his apparition is still lingering, staring out into the city. Floating orbs glowing in the darkness seen by security guards after hours. History has a way of leaving its mark, and at the New York State Capitol, some ghosts refuse to move on. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either, actually. I knew about the train. So, in Asheville, North Carolina, nestled in stunning Blue Ridge Mountains, stands historic Omni Grove Park Inn, a beautiful retreat for travelers, but also home to one of the most beloved ghosts in the state, Pink Lady. Her story begins in the 1920s. No one knows if it was murder or suicide, but one night she fell from a fifth-floor balcony, ending her life far too soon. Yet she remains. Unlike any spirits, the Pink Lady is not one to terrify. She tickles guests' feet while they sleep. She plays with children, who describe her as a friendly lady in pink. She even rearranges furniture, flickers lights, and opens doors, as reminding everyone, I'm still here. If you stay at the Omni Grove Park Inn, don't be afraid if you wake up feeling a presence near your bed. It's just a pink lady watching over you. At least she's friendly.
Yes, exactly.
Tickling my feet? No. I'll allow anything else, but not the feet.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. At first glance, the Children's Museum at Yunker Farm in North Dakota is a place of joy and laughter, but its past is anything but joyful. The story goes that a little girl drowned in the well on the property long ago, and today her apparition is often seen by the well, staring into its depths. Visitors report feeling a sudden tightness in their chests, the shortness of breath, as if someone unseen is gripping them. A shadowy figure appearing and vanishing near the well, but she's not alone. Sarah Yunker, one of the farm's original owners, is also said to haunt the museum. Guests often feel watched, their every step followed by unseen eyes, and the elevators, they move on their own as if someone or something is still traveling between floors. Would you step aside? No, I'm not stepping.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
No.
So, Mansfield, Ohio is home to one of the most violent prisons in American history, the Ohio State Reformatory. Here, rioting inmates fought each other to the death, their lives ending in overcrowded isolation cells, and some, they never left. Shocking. Visitors brave enough to tour the prison have reported unexplained footsteps echoing through the halls, disembodied voices whispering in their ears, chains jingling as if inmates are still locked away. The distant toll of church bells, though no bells exist in the prison. Some believe the spirits are the inmates trapped, forced to relive their suffering. If you enter Ohio State Reformatory, be prepared because not all prisoners escape from death. That'd be neat to go visit. I like visiting prisons.
There you go.
Well, the ones that aren't
Exactly.
active by the living anymore.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Gotcha. The Stone Lion Inn in Guthrie, Oklahoma is a majestic Victorian mansion, but it holds a dark secret. Once a funeral home, it became a charming bed and breakfast. Nope. But when renovations began, the spirit stirred. The owner heard footsteps when no one else was there. Doors opened and closed on their own, and at night, toys were heard moving. Though no children were around, a young girl, the daughter of the Houghton family, who once lived in the home, died here. And today, she's still playing. If you stay at the Stone Lion Inn, don't be alarmed if you wake up to small hands tugging at your blanket. She's just looking for a friend.
Yeah, I have enough friends. Just messing around.
Yeah, I'm like...
So in Lafayette, Oregon, there's a cemetery unlike any other. It holds the grave of Anna Marple, a woman accused of witchcraft and hanged by the townspeople. But before she died, she placed a curse on the town. She vowed that Lafayette will burn down 3 times, and since then, it has burned down twice.
Wow.
That is not all. Anna's spirit still roams the cemetery, a shadow darting between the tombstones. Visitors have reported hearing her scream through the night air, feeling something unseen chasing them, even being attacked by an invisible force. Some have left the cemetery with scratches, marks from a ghostly hand. Will Lafayette burn a 3rd time? And if so, will it be Anna's doing? Yeah, that's one cemetery I'm not going to. You get abused by the ghost. No.
Exactly.
Not worth visiting.
No. Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, the site of Civil War's bloodiest battle, where more than 50,000 soldiers lost their lives. It is no surprise that some never left. At Gettysburg National Military Park, visitors report seeing entire battalions of ghostly soldiers marching silently in formation. At Devil's Den, a rocky ridge that saw brutal fighting, a young man with blonde hair and floppy hat appears, offering to take pictures with tourists. But the moment the camera clicks, he vanishes. And inside the Gettysburg Hotel, a Civil War nurse still wanders the halls, tending to wounded soldiers who are long dead. Even Jenny Wade, the only civilian casualty of the battle, is said to walk the grounds of her old home, forever trapped in the moment of her death. The ghosts of Gettysburg do not rest, and if you listen closely, you might still hear the echoes of war. The Biltmore Hotel in Providence, Rhode Island, now known as the Graduate Providence, is more than just a luxurious stay.
It is said to be one of the most haunted hotels in the country. Its founder, a Satanist, who allegedly practiced dark rituals within its walls. During Prohibition, the hotel became infamous, a place where police officers and criminals drank together, where secrets were made, and where murder was easy to cover up. Guests have reported disembodied laughter in the dead of the night, dancing figures that vanished when approached, blood-red apparitions appearing in the mirrors, and some even claim that the spirits of those murdered still roam the halls. Their whispers mingling with the music of a party that never ends.
No. Satanist,
You put the word Satan, and that covering up murders. No thanks.
Yeah.
It's a no from me.
Just don't need to bring any extra crazy energy home. Keep it there. In Charleston, South Carolina, the old Charleston jail once held the most dangerous criminals in the state. The most notorious, Lavinia Fisher, the first female serial killer in the United States. She and her husband were known to poison travelers, rob them, and dispose of their bodies. But Lavinia, she was fearless. Before she was hanged, her last words were, "If you have a messenger for the devil, tell him I'll see him soon." And some say she never left. Visitors on haunted tours have reported hearing disembodied voices calling their names, objects moving on their own, shadowy figures lurking in the cells. Some have seen a woman in white, laughing. Could it be that Lavinia, is she still waiting for her next victim? She can wait forever.
I think we talked about her in a previous podcast, the serial killer podcast. Lavinia Fisher. Sounds familiar.
She sounded familiar.
She's crazy. Yeah. So the Bullock Hotel in Deadwood, South Dakota is not just a place to stay. It is a place where its original owner, Seth Bullock, still resides. Seth was a stern but honorable man when he built his hotel in 1895. He put his heart and soul into it, so much that when he died, he refused to leave. Guests and staff have seen a tall, shadowy figure standing in doorways, watching over his hotel. Lights and faucets turn on and off on their own, glassware shatters for no reason, and in the silence of the night, you might hear footsteps pacing the hallways. But don't be afraid. Seth Bullock isn't here to harm you. He's just keeping an eye on his guests.
Right? In Adams, Tennessee, there's a place so haunted that even today people fear to take anything from it. It is known as the Bell Witch Cave. In the 1800s, the Bell family was tormented by a spirit named Kate. Kate was no ordinary ghost. She could throw objects, scratch family members, and even speak. She swore that she would never leave John Bell alone. And when he died under mysterious circumstances, many believed it was Kate's doing. Today, the Bell Witch Cave is still filled with mystery and fear. Visitors report hearing whispers when no one else is around, seeing strange shadowy figures in the cave, objects moving as if pushed by an unseen force. And if you take even a single pebble from the cave, it is said you will be cursed. Many who have taken rocks have sent them back, desperate to rid themselves of Kate's wrath. Would you dare to step inside? Would you dare to test the legend?
I would not. I never take anything that does not belong to me when it comes to like nature and stuff.
Yeah.
I had some weird like that. So, standing 14 stories tall over Mineral Wells, Texas, is the Baker Hotel, was once the pinnacle of luxury. Guests like Judy Garland, Helen Keller, and Clark Gable graced its halls. Drawn by the town's so-called healing mineral waters, but some guests, they never left. The most famous ghostly resident, a bellhop, who met his tragic end in the hotel elevator. He has been seen countless times, still tending to guests who can no longer see him. A real tragedy, a woman in white, believed to be the mistress of the hotel builder, T.V. Baker. She leapt from the 7th floor in despair, and to this day, guests report catching a whiff of her perfume, feeling a cold presence near the balcony, and even hearing sobbing in the dead of the night. And if you walk those halls alone, be warned, you might feel someone brushing past you, but when you turn around, ain't nowhere gonna be.
Some ghosts are tied to places they never wanted to leave, but others, they're bound by heartbreak. At the Rio Grande Depot in Salt Lake City, one spirit is infamous, a woman known simply as the Purple Lady. Her story, tragic. During a heated argument with her fiancé, she threw her engagement ring onto the train tracks. Rushing to retrieve it, she never saw the train.
How do you not see that? Hold on. You throw it on there, and how do you not see a train coming?
You hear the noise, the train rails vibrating. There's a train coming.
Suspicious.
Don't lie. Whatever. Anyway, she went to go grab her engagement ring from the train track. She never saw the train coming. And now she haunts the station, often appearing on the main floor and inside women's restroom. Many have reported seeing a woman in a flowing purple dress staring at the tracks where she died. Some feel a sudden rush of cold air. Others hear the faint sound of a woman sobbing. But the most chilling part, the flickering lights, always in the exact spot where she drew her last.
I don't believe the train part. She probably knew it was coming and tried to get it real fast and then snapped.
She didn't pass.
Some spirits remain in places where love turned to tragedy. In Stowe, Vermont, a covered bridge has become the final resting place of a woman named Emily. Emily was a bride-to-be waiting at the bridge for the love of her life, but it never came. Devastated, she hung herself from the rafters. Now, she waits. And if you dare to cross Emily's bridge, you might experience your car stalling for no reason, explain scratches on your arms or your vehicle, springs calling your name. Ghost hunters have photographed shadowy figures and heard a woman weeping. Yet when they look around, no one's there. Would you dare to drive across this bridge at night?
No.
Well, look, if my house is on the other side, obviously, but I haven't done it. I go fast. You know what I mean? Try to anyway.
You got to.
Got to.
Right. Some battles never end. At Cold Harbor Battlefield in Virginia, the ghosts of Confederate and Union soldiers still walk the trenches where they fell. More than 18,000 soldiers died here, their final moments full of blood, smoke, and cannon fire. Visitors today report smelling gunpowder, hearing phantom gunfire, and even spotting figures in gray and blue standing near their graves. But one ghost stands out, a young girl seen wandering the cemetery near the Confederate graves. Who is she? No one knows. But one thing is certain. At Cold Harbor, the dead do not rest.
That they do not.
Yes.
But some places are meant for laughter, family, and peace. But at Point Defiance Park in Ruston, Washington, some visitors never left. Two ghostly children are seen here frequent. One, a young girl on a bicycle riding in the middle of the night. The other, a child walking into the sunset, disappearing before she reaches the horizon. And inside the park's history, pagoda may have experienced a sudden rush of icy air, footsteps when no one else is around, a soft sighing in the darkness. Is this just the imagination running wild, or are these echoes of the children lost in time?
Yeah.
About that. Children walking into the sunset, disappearing. When it comes to kids, I'm a little freaked out. Because, I don't know.
It's a lot. Some places were built to heal. Instead, they became a prison for the forgotten. In Weston, West Virginia, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum once housed the mentally ill, the unwanted, and the lost. But with thousands of patients and only a handful of staff, what happened inside these walls was nothing short of inhumane. Overcrowding, unethical experiments, people locked away not for treatment, but to be forgotten. And now they remain. Visitors hear agonized cries echoing through empty hallways, see shadowy figures lurking in the abandoned patient wards, and feel unseen force brush against them as if something is still reaching out. But one spirit stands out among the rest, Lily. She was only 9 years old when she died of pneumonia, her frail body too weak for the asylum's harsh conditions. Now Lily plays. She has been giggling in the children's ward, her small hands moving toys left by visitors. Some say they've heard her laughter, soft and innocent, yet deeply unsettling. Would you dare to leave a toy for Lily, or would you be too afraid of what might pick it up? She can have a toy.
I'd leave a toy. Yeah, I'll leave a toy for her.
We'll give her a toy. Some bars close at last call. Others never close at all. On Washington Island, Wisconsin, there's a legendary saloon that has survived Prohibition, the Great Depression, and even death. It's called Nelson's Hall. During Prohibition, owner Tom Nelson found a brilliant loophole. He claimed his drinks were medicinal. Sorry. And for years, people came and took a shot of Angostura Bitters and became part of the infamous Bitters Club. But Nelson never left. Decades after his death, his footprints still echo in the upstairs apartment. Staff and patrons have seen his shadow move behind the bar, and women report feeling a presence in the restroom, a cold hand brushing against their shoulders. But perhaps the strangest phenomenon, the radio changes stations on its own. Is it just old wiring, or is Nelson himself still choosing the music for his beloved bar? If you visit Nelson's Hall, order a drink. But if the radio suddenly switches to an old-time jazz tune, you're not drinking alone.
Yeah, I'll have to slap that drink down. I'm out.
That's right.
So some spirits roam the halls of history, refusing to be forgotten. In Buffalo, Wyoming, the Occidental Hotel is home to one such ghost, a woman in a flowing white dress. Once a Wild West hotspot, the Occidental Hotel hosted legends like Calamity Jane, Butch Cassidy, and the Sundance Kid. But one guest never checked out. Who was she? A tragic lover, a gunfighter's widow, or a nameless woman whose fate was sealed with these walls? What we do know is this. Guests have seen her moving objects in rooms, lights flickering without explanation, and some feel a gentle tap on their shoulder, only to turn around and see there's no one there. But the most terrifying encounter, one guest awoke in the night to find a woman standing at the foot of their bed, watching, smiling. Would you spend the night at the Occidental Hotel, or would you be too afraid to stay, or what was waiting in the dark? Yeah, I don't know about people staring at me and smiling. Right. Don't mess around with me while I'm sleeping. All right. So some places are more than just landmarks. They hold the echoes of past lives, the whispers of unfinished business, the memories of those who refuse to be forgotten. From factories where revenge got burned hot, to hospitals that never stopped housing the sick, to cemeteries where the dead still walk. Tonight's stories remind us one thing. Some places remember, and some refuse to let go. Thank you for joining me and Raji in another chilling episode of Half Haunted. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe, share, and send us your own haunted encounters. We may just feature them in a future episode. Until next time, keep your lights on, watch where you step, and if you hear your voice calling your name from the dark, don't answer, and stay haunted.